This is our psychology presentation by Acelya, Toprak and Lowri Walker. We chose case study B, which is about John, who is a county team hockey player. We are going to explain the key approaches linked to John and the key theories that relate why he adopts certain behaviours when things are going wrong during important games. We will then talk about a possible intervention to help John combat his anxiety and negative thoughts. Approaches. We thought the main approaches were cognitive and behaviourism. Cognitive approach relates to thinking processes, for example, perception, thinking, learning, and memory. Bandura states that people learn from observing other people's behaviour through imitation and modelling. The cognitive approach links to John as he has a very negative mindset, as he believes he is not good enough, therefore his doubts limit his performance. John also worries about letting the team down, which also shows he has a negative state of mind. As shown in case study B, John demonstrates anger, which is a social emotion which always has a target directed against. In this case, the target is John himself, as he shouts at himself and throws his hockey stick onto the floor. This is down to his negative thinking processes, as he is unable to control his emotions. John explains to his coach his constant nervous feeling, which causes his performances to deteriorate as his negative thoughts about playing. The second approach is behaviourism. Pavlov states that behaviourism is how behaviours are learnt and reinforced. In John's case, behaviourism is linked to the environment he is in, which is a county level team. This causes him not to play well, resulting in constant substitutions. Pavlov also explains classical conditioning as an automatic type of learning, which is a stimulus requires the capacity to excite response that was originally evoked by another stimulus. In John's case, the original is the level of team he plays for, and the stimuli which causes a reaction is the mistakes he begins to make during matches. This results in shows of anger as well as substitution. Watson furthered Pavlov's work and applied it to human beings. He found that classical conditioning could cause phobia in some humans. This is linked to John, as his phobia is not to perform well at county level. The first theory we related to John is attribution theory, which links specifically to certain parts of our case study. This theory is explained by Fisk and Taylor, who suggest that the attribution theory is how a person uses feelings, beliefs and intentions to understand the behaviours of others. This relates to John, as he fits into the model created by Haider, which is shown in figure 1. We are told that he is very talented, which shows his ability, putting him in the stable category. Although as he plays county level, this is a high task difficulty, which is an external factor causing him to believe he isn't good enough and causing him to make mistakes. This means that John can be categorised as stable but struggling with external factors. For example, before any important game, John believes he will not be good enough on the day. The second theory is the self-determination theory, which is a framework for predicting physical activity behaviour change created by DC and Ryan. John shows signs of amotivation, which is a state of lacking motivation, and signs of learned helplessness, as even before the match has begun he feels as though he isn't good enough, as shown in case study B, which states that John believes he will not be good enough on the day. He often lays awake a week before competition, worrying about his performance and how he could let the team down. The self-determination theory, which is concerned with motivation, personality and optimal functioning. This theory claims that people have 3 primary psychological needs, which are autonomy, competence and relatedness. Autonomy is the need to feel autonomous in an action rather than feeling controlled or compelled to act. Competence is the need to feel competent, so having the necessary ability and knowledge to do something successfully. John lacks this leading up to important games, therefore cannot deal with the environment, causing a deterioration of performance. Relatedness is the need to feel integrated with others. John worries about letting the team down, meaning that he perceives himself to be the weak link in the team. This also relates back to learned helplessness, which is a theory created by Slegman and Mayer, as he suffers from a sense of powerlessness as he persistently feels as though he isn't going to perform well. The third theory we looked at was anxiety. Anxiety is an emotion caused by feelings of tension, worry and physical changes like sweating or increased blood pressure. Spielberger suggests that state anxiety is defined as an unpleasant emotion in the face of threatening demands, and that trait anxiety refers to the stable tendency to have feelings of fear, worry and anxiety in many situations. John experiences anxiety as in case study B he describes his feelings of nervousness. This causes him to have poor decision making and lack of control during play. This is down to the feelings of pressure and tension he gets from not wanting to let the team down and wanting to perform well. John can be related to state and trait anxiety, as his feelings of nervousness increase up to and on the day of matches. Another theory behind anxiety is the catastrophe theory, as shown in Figure 2, which was invented by Tom and Chambers, states that the catastrophe theory is a theory of arousal that predicts a rapid decline in a person's performance, resulting from high cognitive anxiety and increasing somatic anxiety. John's anxiety and arousal levels are higher than the optimum zone of functioning for him as an individual. We can tell this from the fact that he begins to make mistakes, meaning that his performance begins to decline. As shown in Figure 2, John is at point B, which is hard to return from without being an elite level athlete. When a person's already aroused, any additional arousal can have a detrimental effect on their performance. This is happening to John. A change of situation can cause this increase in arousal, for example, an important county game in John's case. This would lead to a catastrophe. When a person is over-aroused, it can lead to muscle tension, which links to John's poor decision making as he's not as alert during games. The last theory we looked at was the self-efficacy theory, which Bandura explains was developed from the social cognitive theory and is not one's belief of their ability but one's belief that they will be able to accomplish a specific task, linking to John as he has low self-efficacy, shown by his belief that he will not be able to accomplish the task of playing well at county level in an important game. This is shown by the fact that he worries about letting his team down. Bandura believed that confidence was essential, as well as the processes of self-appraisal and self-persuasion. He says that the mind tells us when to try and when to stop. For example, if a person believes something to be impossible, then they are less likely to attempt the task with complete confidence and effort. John lacks confidence, therefore he lacks the motivation behind performing well, resulting in him putting less effort in, which later on causes him to make mistakes. There are 4 sources of self-efficacy: mastery, vicarious experiences, verbal persuasion, and psychological factors. Bandura believed the best source to develop self-efficacy is through mastery. He also believed that performance accomplishments are the best way to show self-efficacy, as they are focused on one's own mastery of experiences. Chase and Ferguson state that past performances have an effect on self-efficacy, which is relatable to John as he has a constant bad experience when it comes to important matches, which causes the perceived difficulty of the match to increase in John's mind. Vicarious experience occurs through the observation of people around us, especially role models. If a person is constantly surrounded by people similar to them succeeding, then it will increase their belief that they have the capabilities to do so. Verbal persuasion can come from parents, coaches, or anyone remotely influential in a person's life. If a person is persuaded that they have the ability to achieve, then it means they will put more effort into the task at hand. A person's psychological state will have an effect on how they judge their own self-efficacy. For example, if a person is stressed, then they are more likely to have poor performance. John relates to lacking in all 4 of the sources of self-efficacy, as even though he does start off by playing well, neither the observation of his teammates or being surrounded by people of the same capability stop his performance accomplishments from declining. Our intervention. We looked at controlling arousal through the use of self-talk. This process is used by sports psychologists to influence thoughts and feelings. It will help John get over his issues with anxiety, lack of motivation, lack of composure, and lack of self-efficacy, which we believe are the main reasons that John's performance deteriorates during a match. Self-talk can be both motivational or instructional. Carr states that self-talk is the subconscious dialogue that occurs in the mind before, during, and after competitions. It affects a person's confidence and emotions, which impact performance. If an athlete is using negative self-talk, they may feel frustration, anger, or anxiety. These emotional states challenge breathing, increase the muscle tension, loss of concentration, resulting in decreased performance. If an athlete is engaging in positive self-talk, the emotional experience is relaxation, feeling centered and calm. As a result, the performance would increase. There are three main steps to positive self-talk: countering, which is the explanation for what is happening; reframing, turning negatives into positives; thought stopping, which is stopping negative thoughts altogether. Therefore, for John to be better, he would use all of these techniques to motivate and compose himself at times that he gets frustrated, to control his anxiety so he can focus on the game, avoiding distraction, and to improve his self-efficacy, improving his belief in himself, completing a task at hand. These are the references that we use throughout.